The Science and Stories of Happiness. Part 1. Introduction. Good evening, dear listener. Welcome to another night together, a night of reflection, rest, and gentle discovery. Tonight we turn our attention to one of the deepest questions of human life, the question of happiness. Happiness, it is a word so often spoken, so casually wished for. I just want to be happy. I hope you'll be happy. Are you happy? And yet behind this simple word lies a mystery. For while we all desire it, few can fully explain what it is, where it comes from, or how to keep it when it arrives. Think of how many voices through history have tried to answer this question. Philosophers in ancient Greece, sitting in shaded courtyards, debating whether happiness is pleasure, virtue, or wisdom. Mystics in the East, meditating beneath trees, whispering that happiness is not in things, but in freedom from craving. Poets, pouring their hearts into verse, saying that happiness is found in love, in beauty, in fleeting moments that vanish as quickly as they appear. And in our own time, scientists with charts and surveys, psychologists measuring brainwaves and heart rates, trying to capture happiness with the tools of research. Yet despite all this, happiness is still something profoundly personal. It is not the same for everyone. For one, happiness might be the laughter of children at play. For another, it might be the quiet of a morning walk. For someone else, it is the feeling of being understood, of truly belonging. And maybe that is part of the secret. Happiness is not one single thing. It is a mosaic, built from countless small pieces. Moments of joy, moments of peace, moments of love, moments of meaning. Some pieces shine brightly like extraordinary memories. Others are subtle, almost invisible, like the comfort of sitting with a cup of tea or hearing the rain outside your window. Tonight I invite you not to chase happiness, but to allow it to reveal itself. Happiness is not a finish line. It is not waiting for you at the end of a long race. It is more like the air you breathe, unseen, yet present in every moment, if only you notice it. When we stop running after it, when we sit still, we begin to see that it was here all along. This lecture will follow three gentle paths. The first is the path of science. What researchers like Sonja Lyubomirsky, Daniel Kahneman, and Richard Layard have discovered about the mind, about choices, and about the conditions that shape well-being. The second is the path of wisdom, the insights of Aristotle, Epicurus, the Stoics, the Buddha, the Sufi poets, and the great writers of our own age. And the third path is that of story, parables, metaphors, and simple tales that reach us not through logic, but through the heart. Think of these three paths as rivers flowing together. Alone, each has its own current, but together, they merge into something wider, stronger, and more nourishing. As you listen tonight, there is nothing you need to do. No task, no effort, no judgment. You may sit or lie down, your body supported by the quiet around you. If your mind drifts, let it drift. If you grow sleepy, let sleep come gently, without resistance. These words are not a lesson to be memorized. They are like a lullaby, soft music for your mind, carrying you into rest. Perhaps you will stay awake, following each thought carefully. Perhaps you will only hear the beginning of a sentence before your mind wanders elsewhere. Or perhaps at some point the words will dissolve into dreams, All of this is welcome. The message of tonight is not about doing, but about being. So let us begin this journey. A journey not into distant lands, but into the quiet spaces within ourselves. A journey not filled with noise and urgency, but with calm and openness. A journey to discover that happiness is not tomorrow, not someday, but here, in this moment, in this breath, in this night. Part 2. The Science of Happiness. Let us now step onto the first of our three paths, the path of science. For centuries, happiness was the subject of poets and philosophers. But in recent decades, scientists too have joined this ancient conversation. They do not write in verse or parables. They work with surveys, experiments, and data. And yet, in their language of research, they have discovered truths that echo what the sages have said for centuries. So tonight, as you rest, let us walk slowly through three voices of modern science. Sonja Lyubomirsky, Daniel Kahneman, and Richard Layard. Each offers us a lens, a way of seeing happiness not as a mystery, but as something we can nurture gently day by day. Sonja Lyubomirsky, The 40% Solution. Imagine for a moment that your happiness is a garden. Some parts of it are shaped by the soil, the genetics you were born with. Some parts are shaped by the weather, the circumstances of your life, such as money, health, and environment. But a large part of the garden is shaped by how you tend it, the seeds you plant, the care you give, the weeds you remove. This is what Sonja Lyubomirsky discovered. Through years of research, she found that about 50% of our happiness is influenced by genetics, by our natural temperament. Some of us are born with sunny dispositions, others with more serious or anxious ones. This is not something to blame or to praise. It is simply the soil in which our life grows. Only about 10% of happiness comes from circumstances. Income, possessions, social status, even the house we live in. This may surprise us, because so often we believe, if only I had more money, a better home, a perfect job, then I would be happy. But science shows that once our basic needs are met, these things quickly lose their power. We adapt. A new car excites us for a week, a promotion for a month, a new phone for a day. And then, like water through our fingers, the feeling slips away. And what of the remaining part? That is the most hopeful discovery. 40% of our happiness depends on intentional activity. The choices we make, the habits we build, the way we interpret life. What does this mean? It means that happiness is not entirely outside our control. It is not waiting for us in some distant circumstance. It is in large part something we can grow through daily practice. Lyubomirsky offers many examples. When we keep a gratitude journal, writing down 3 things we are thankful for, even on difficult days, we train the mind to notice abundance rather than lack. When we perform small acts of kindness, holding a door, writing a kind note, giving our time, happiness increases not only for the receiver, but also for us. When we savor simple pleasures, truly tasting our food, listening to music without distraction, or watching the play of light on the wall, we anchor ourselves in the richness of life. Think again of the garden. We may not choose the soil, we cannot control the weather, but we can plant seeds, water them, and create beauty with what we have. Daniel Kahneman, The Two Selves. Let us now listen to another voice. Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize-winning psychologist who studied how we experience and remember happiness. Kahneman speaks of two selves within us: the experiencing self, the one who lives in each moment, feeling pleasure or pain; the remembering self, the storyteller, who looks back and decides whether we were happy. The experiencing self lives in the now. Right now, perhaps you feel the softness of your pillow, the warmth of a blanket, the calm of the evening. These are real experiences of well-being. But the remembering self may later dismiss them, saying, "That day was ordinary, nothing special." Here lies the paradox. Our lives are filled with moments of quiet joy, yet our remembering self often overlooks them. We remember beginnings, peaks, and endings. A trip may have 10 beautiful days, but if the last day ends with a canceled flight, the remembering self may label the whole trip unhappy. This matters because it shapes how we live. We may neglect the experiencing self, the one who lives each second, and chase after stories for the remembering self. We may strive for achievements that look good in memory, but neglect the gentle joy of the present. Kahneman teaches us two lessons. First, pay attention to the now. Happiness exists in small, ordinary moments. In the sound of laughter, the taste of water when you are thirsty, the rhythm of your breath. These are treasures for the experiencing self. Second, be kind to your remembering self. Do not let one painful moment overshadow all that was good. Try to recall the whole journey, not only its ending. Perhaps then, real happiness is a balance. To honor the present, and to tell our story in a way that recognizes the quiet beauty of our days. Richard Layard, Happiness and Society. Finally, let us consider the work of Richard Layard, an economist who looked at happiness not just in individuals, but in whole societies. Layard discovered a striking truth. After a certain point, money does not bring lasting happiness. Of course, poverty and insecurity cause suffering. But once basic needs are met, wealth alone cannot add much to joy. What matters more? Relationships. People with strong connections to family, friends, and community are far happier than those who are wealthy but alone. Mental health. Depression and anxiety reduce happiness more than almost any external factor, and addressing them brings deep relief. Trust. Living in communities where people feel safe, respected, and cared for creates more well-being than high incomes ever could. Layard also warns us of the trap of comparison. When we measure ourselves against others, their cars, homes, jobs, our joy diminishes, because there will always be someone with more. But when we shift our gaze to kindness, service, and meaning, happiness expands again. Imagine standing on a hill. If you always look to the peak above you, you will feel small and dissatisfied. But if you look around at the horizon, at the people beside you, at the beauty of where you already are, you may feel at peace. Gentle reflection. So what does the science of happiness teach us? It teaches us that happiness is partly inborn, partly circumstantial, but largely in our hands. It is shaped by daily habits, gratitude, kindness, savoring. It is colored by how we remember our lives, the stories we tell ourselves, and it grows in the soil of connection, trust, and love, far more than in wealth. Science does not give us a magic formula, but it offers us hope. Happiness is not a prize given only to a lucky few. It is something we can nurture gently through the way we live. So tonight, as you rest, think not of what you lack, nor of what you cannot change. Think instead of the 40%, the part that is yours to shape. Think of the present moment, the experiencing self who feels peace right now. And think of the story you will tell yourself tomorrow, a story that honors not just the peaks, but the quiet joys along the way. Part 3. Philosophical Roots of Happiness. Let us step more deeply into the world of philosophy. For long before psychology and science tried to measure happiness, the sages of humanity sought to understand it in the language of wisdom. They asked, what is happiness? Is it pleasure? Is it virtue? Is it freedom? Is it peace? And though they spoke in different voices across centuries and cultures, their answers weave together like threads in a tapestry. Tonight we will follow these voices, slowly, gently, as if we are sitting with them in the stillness of night. Aristotle, flourishing through virtue. We begin with Aristotle, who lived more than 2,000 years ago in Greece. For him, happiness was not a passing emotion, not laughter one day and sorrow the next. He used the word eudaimonia, which means to flourish, to live in harmony with one's true nature, to fulfill the purpose of the soul. Aristotle believed that every action we take, every choice we make, is ultimately aimed at happiness. We seek wealth not for itself, but because we think it will make us happy. We seek health, honor, even knowledge, because we hope they will bring joy. But true happiness, he said, is not about chasing pleasures. Pleasures fade. Possessions vanish. Real happiness comes from cultivating virtue, courage, wisdom, justice, self-control. Imagine a musician practicing his art. The joy is not just in the applause, but in the discipline, the growth, the mastery. So too in life, happiness comes from becoming the best version of ourselves, not for reward, but because the act itself is noble. Aristotle whispers to us, happiness is a life of virtue. Not perfection, but striving each day toward what is good and true. Epicurus, the joy of simplicity. Now step into a quiet garden in Athens, where Epicurus taught his students. He told them, happiness does not lie in wealth, power, or endless desire. It lies in simplicity, friendship, and freedom from fear. Epicurus said that we make ourselves miserable by chasing what we do not truly need. One man builds a palace, then longs for a bigger one. Another becomes famous, but trembles at the thought of losing his fame. Desires, he taught, are like a cup with a hole. No matter how much we pour in, it never fills. Instead, Epicurus offered a gentle path. Be content with simple food, shared with friends. Relish ordinary joys, the warmth of the sun, the sound of laughter, a drink of water. Release the fear of death, the fear of gods, the fear of losing. Happiness, he said, is not about having much, but about needing little. In our world, where advertisements shout that happiness is one more purchase away, Epicurus's voice is a balm. He reminds us that joy can be found in a single loaf of bread, a shared smile, a heart unburdened by fear. The Stoics, peace in control. From Athens, let us walk to Rome, where the Stoics lived. Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. They too sought happiness, but they found it not in pleasure, but in serenity. The Stoics taught that most of our suffering comes not from events, but from how we judge them. We cannot control the storm, but we can control our ship. We cannot control what others say or do, but we can control our own response. We cannot control the passing of time, but we can control how we live within it. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor who ruled vast lands, wrote in his diary each night, "Very little is needed for a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Seneca, his fellow Stoic, told us, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence on the future." The Stoics remind us, happiness is not freedom from hardship, but freedom from being enslaved by hardship. It is the calm of a mind that accepts what it cannot change, and uses wisely what it can. So they whisper to us across time, do not waste your strength on what lies beyond you. Turn inward, rule yourself. There lies peace. The Buddha, contentment is the greatest wealth. Now we travel east to sit beneath a Bodhi tree with the Buddha. He too spoke of suffering and happiness. The Buddha taught that human beings suffer because of craving and attachment. We want, we cling, we grasp to pleasure, to possessions, to people, to life itself. And in this endless grasping, we create our own unhappiness. But when we release craving, happiness arises naturally, like a clear lake once the mud settles. Contentment is the greatest wealth, he said. Not gold, not kingdoms, not fame, but the ability to be at peace with what is here, now. The Buddha did not promise that life would be free of pain, but he showed that even within pain, one can find compassion, serenity, and joy. Happiness, in his teaching, is not a possession. It is a way of being. It is not out there. It is already here, waiting in stillness. A conversation across time. When we place these voices side by side, we see something beautiful. Aristotle tells us, happiness is found in virtue and purpose. Epicurus says, happiness is found in simplicity and freedom from fear. The Stoics remind us, happiness is found in serenity, in mastering ourselves. The Buddha shows us, happiness is found in letting go, in contentment. Different words, different cultures, different centuries, and yet, together they draw a picture of happiness as something steady, enduring, not dependent on wealth, not trapped in constant desire. Aristotle points us toward greatness of character. Epicurus points us toward simplicity. The Stoics point us toward resilience. The Buddha points us toward release. 4 paths, 1 truth. Happiness is not a prize to be hunted. It is a way of living, a way of seeing, a way of being. Gentle closing of the section. So tonight, as you listen, imagine these teachers seated in a circle around a fire. A Greek philosopher in a courtyard of stone, a gentleman in a garden of friends, a Roman emperor writing by lamplight, A sage beneath a tree in India. They lean close, and though their words differ, their message is one. Happiness is not in the noise of the world. It is not in the things you buy, nor in the things you lose. So, it is not far away. It is here, in your choices, in your simplicity, in your peace, in your contentment. And if you close your eyes tonight, you may feel their words not as lessons to remember, but as a quiet reassurance. You already carry within you the seeds of happiness. Part 4. Parables and stories about happiness. We have heard the voice of science. We have walked with the philosophers. Now it is time to listen with the heart. For while knowledge convinces the mind, and philosophy strengthens the soul, it is often stories that reach deepest into us. A single parable can carry truth more softly, more gently than any theory. So tonight, let us travel slowly through stories, from east to west, from ancient villages to modern classrooms, each one holding a fragment of the great mosaic of happiness. The Zen teacup, empty to be full. A student came to a Zen master asking to be taught the secret of happiness. The master poured tea into the student's cup. He kept pouring until the cup overflowed. "Stop!" cried the student. "The cup is full." The master replied, "Your mind is like this cup, full of worries, fears, desires. How can happiness enter if there is no space? Happiness begins in emptiness. When we quiet the noise, when we let go of constant thought, we discover that joy was waiting, patient, beneath the surface. The Sufi king and the dervish. Richness of poverty. A king once asked a wandering dervish, "What is the secret of happiness?" The dervish said, "I have nothing and I am happy. You have everything, and yet you ask me this question." The king thought happiness came from palaces and gold. But the dervish showed another truth. Happiness lies not in possessions, but in freedom from needing them. Rumi once wrote, "When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you." The glass of water, learning to put it down. A teacher held up a glass of water. "How heavy is this glass?" she asked. The students gave answers. 100 grams, 200 grams. She smiled. "The weight does not matter. What matters is how long I hold it. A minute, easy. An hour, my arm aches. A day, unbearable. Worries are like this glass. If you carry them briefly, they are light. If you hold them too long, they crush you. Happiness begins when we put the glass down." The lily of the field. The joy of being. Jesus said, "Consider the lilies of the field. They do not toil, they do not spin. Yet even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. The lilies do not compete, do not compare. They simply grow, open, and turn toward the sun. So too happiness is found not in endless striving, but in being what we are, rooted, simple, alive, the old man and his horse, trusting the flow. In a Chinese village, an old man's horse ran away. The neighbors said, "How unlucky!" The man replied, "Maybe." The horse returned, bringing wild horses. The neighbors said, "How lucky!" The man replied, "Maybe." Man's son broke his leg taming one of the horses. The neighbors cried, How unlucky! The man said, maybe. Soon, soldiers came to draft young men for war. The son was spared because of his broken leg. The neighbors exclaimed, how lucky! And the old man simply said, maybe. Happiness is not in judging events too quickly, but in trusting the flow of life. Tolstoy's winter story, happiness in sharing. In a Russian village, winter was harsh. Peasants had little bread. Yet when a stranger knocked on the door, they shared what they had. That night their hunger was still there, but their hearts were full. Tolstoy wrote, true happiness is found in living for others. The bread you share warms two souls, yours and your neighbor's. The two wolves, which one do you feed? An old Cherokee told his grandson, there are two wolves fighting inside us. One is anger, envy, greed, fear. The other is joy, peace, kindness, love. Which one wins? Asked the boy. The elder answered, the one you feed. Every choice is food. Every word, every thought, every action. Happiness grows when we feed the wolf of peace. The happy beggar. Joy without gold. In India, a beggar sang every morning. His voice filled the streets with joy. A rich merchant grew envious. How can he be so happy with nothing, while I, with everything, feel restless? The merchant gave the beggar a bag of coins, saying, now you will be secure. But from that day the beggar stopped singing. He feared losing the coins, counted them each night, and his joy was gone. Happiness left not when he had nothing, but when he began to cling. The treasure beneath the bridge. A Hasidic story tells of a poor man who dreamed there was treasure buried under a bridge in a distant city. He traveled far, only to be told by a guard, funny, I too dreamed of treasure, buried under a poor man's stove in a faraway village. The man returned home, looked beneath his own stove, and found treasure there. We search far and wide for happiness, but often it waits quietly, right where we are. The Fool Who Was Happy. A Russian folk tale tells of a fool who danced and laughed, even in poverty. When the king asked him, why are you happy with nothing? The fool replied, because nothing is missing. Sometimes wisdom wears the mask of foolishness. The fool, content with little, was richer than the king who had everything. The Dog and His Reflection. Aesop's warning. A dog carried a piece of meat across a stream. Seeing his reflection in the water, he thought another dog had more. He snapped to grab it and lost the meat he had. So too, when we chase illusions, we lose real happiness. Greed is a thief. The monk and the hot tea. A monk was asked, when is happiness? He lifted his cup. Right now, in this sip of hot tea. The past is memory. The future is dream. Only the present is real, and in it, happiness waits. The Candle and the Tasse. A man wept as his candle went out. He was afraid of the dark, but then he looked up and saw the morning sun rising. So often we cling to small lights, forgetting that greater light already shines. Happiness is remembering the sun. Gentle closing. All these stories, Zen, Sufi, Buddhist, Christian, Russian, Hasidic, Cherokee, Aesop, are threads in a single fabric. They tell us that Happiness is space, not clutter. Happiness is freedom, not possession. Happiness is letting go of burdens. Happiness is trust in life. Happiness is sharing. Happiness is feeding joy, not fear. Happiness is close to home. Happiness is now. Stories are not rules. They are lanterns. You may not need them all tonight, but perhaps one will stay with you, in your dreams, in your thoughts, like a gentle flame to guide you toward peace. Part 5. The Voices of Great Writers. There is a place where words become lanterns. Not the dry words of science, not the sharp words of argument, but the glowing words of poets, novelists, dreamers, men and women who carried happiness and sorrow in their hearts and poured them into lines that still live centuries later. Tonight, let us walk through this library of voices. Each writer will greet us, whisper a fragment of truth, and then step back into the quiet, leaving us with a candle of wisdom to hold. Leo Tolstoy, Happiness in Service and Simplicity. Tolstoy once confessed in his diaries that life seemed empty. He had everything: fame, money, family, respect. And yet he wrote, "I felt that life had no meaning, and therefore it had no joy." But through his searching, he discovered another truth. Happiness lies in living for others. In What Men Live By, he tells how a poor shoemaker, though burdened by poverty, finds joy in kindness, in taking in strangers, in sharing his bread. The shoemaker has little, yet he is rich. Why? Because love multiplies happiness. Tolstoy reminds us, joy is not in excess, but in compassion. True wealth is the warmth of a shared loaf, the quiet smile given to another. Fyodor Dostoevsky, Joy Through Darkness. Dostoevsky's life was filled with hardship, imprisonment, exile, illness, and yet his characters speak of radiant joy. In The Brothers Karamazov, Alyosha tells us, "There is so much of God's beauty in the world, and in the smallest things there is joy." For Dostoevsky, happiness was not the absence of suffering, but its transformation. He believed suffering carves the soul, making room for greater joy, like valleys carved by rivers that later bloom with life. His message, do not be afraid of sorrow. It prepares you for deeper joy. Anton Chekhov, Happiness in Everyday Life. Chekhov, another Russian master, found beauty not in great declarations, but in the small, fleeting moments. He wrote of peasants laughing after a long day of work, of children running through fields, of quiet dinners where nothing extraordinary happens. And yet happiness is there, subtle, unannounced. Chekhov whispers, happiness is often unnoticed. It does not shout. It arrives softly in ordinary hours, waiting for us to see it. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, Happiness of the Heart. In The Little Prince, Saint-Exupéry wrote words that millions still carry. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Happiness, he tells us, is not in possessions, not in trophies, not in numbers. It is in love, in friendship, in responsibility. The little prince cares for his rose. He waters her, shields her from the wind, even though she is fragile. And in this care, he discovers happiness deeper than any adventure among stars. Saint-Exupéry whispers, to care is to be happy. To love something fragile is to know meaning. Rumi, the river of joy. The Persian poet Rumi sang, "When you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you, a joy." For him, joy was the soul's natural song. It flows when we live truthfully, when we act from love. It dries when we live in fear, in pretense. He wrote, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure." Rumi reminds us, happiness is not outside us. It is within, flowing, waiting. We need only clear the stones of fear, and the river of joy moves again. Khalil Gibran, joy and sorrow are one. Gibran, in The Prophet, wrote, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked." The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. He saw happiness and sorrow as two sides of one coin. Like day and night, one gives meaning to the other. Without sorrow, joy is shallow. Without joy, sorrow is unbearable. Together they make us human. His message, do not fear tears. They are preparing the well from which your laughter will rise. Rabindranath Tagore, happiness in service. Tagore, the Indian poet and Nobel laureate, saw joy in serving life itself. He wrote, "I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy." Tagore's vision was simple. Happiness is not in waiting for joy to come, but in giving yourself to something larger, to people, to love, to beauty, to truth. Shape Albert Camus, happiness in acceptance. The French philosopher and writer Camus gave us an unexpected view. The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. For Camus, happiness was not in escaping struggle, but in embracing it, finding dignity in effort, and smiling even as we climb. Shape Emily Dickinson, happiness in the smallest things. The American poet Emily Dickinson wrote in her quiet room, often alone, often unseen. Her poems sing of small joys. A bird on the window, the light in the afternoon, the gift of a moment. She whispers across time. Happiness does not always come in thunder. Sometimes it is a feather, a ray of sun, a pause in the storm. So what do these voices teach us? Tolstoy, joy in compassion. Dostoevsky, joy through suffering. Chekhov, joy in the ordinary. Saint-Exupéry, joy in caring. Rumi, joy as the river of the soul. Gibran, joy and sorrow together. Tagore, joy in service. Camus, joy in acceptance of struggle. Dickinson, joy in the smallest moments. 9 writers, 9 lands, 9 visions, and yet one truth. Happiness is not far. It is here. It is in service, in compassion, in simplicity, in resilience, in the heart that loves, in the soul that flows, in the mind that accepts, in the eye that notices a single ray of light. So tonight, imagine yourself in a library where these voices echo. Shelves of books surround you, lamps glow softly, and from every corner, a writer steps forward to whisper, "You already have happiness within you." It has many faces, many names, but it is always here, waiting to be seen. Part 6. Practices for happiness. Happiness is not a gift that suddenly falls from the sky. It is not a treasure buried far away. It is something we cultivate, gently, patiently, like a garden. And just as a garden grows not in a day, but through steady care, so happiness grows from simple practices, repeated softly, until they become part of who we are. Tonight, let us walk slowly through these practices, not as tasks, not as heavy obligations, but as gentle invitations, ways to live more lightly, more deeply, more joyfully. 1. The practice of gratitude, the hidden gold. Gratitude is like polishing the glass of the heart. It does not change the world outside, but it changes the way we see it. Imagine you have a candle. If the glass is covered in dust, the flame looks dim. But if you wipe the glass clean, the light shines brighter. Each evening, think of 3 things you are grateful for. Not extraordinary things, but the ordinary treasures of daily life. The laughter of a child, the smell of bread, a message from a friend, the way the moonlight falls on your window. Psychologists have found that gratitude journaling can lift mood for weeks. But beyond science, gratitude is a quiet prayer. It is saying, I see, I notice, I cherish. A Zen proverb says, you already have everything you need to be happy. You just need to learn how to see it. 2. The practice of presence, the home of joy. Happiness hides when we run too much toward the past or the future. The past carries regret. The future carries fear. But joy lives in the only place it can, the present. A monk once said, yesterday is already a dream. Tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Try this practice. When you notice your thoughts racing, pause. Look around. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. This simple grounding brings you home. Back to now, back to life. 3. The practice of kindness, lighting candles. Imagine walking into a dark hall with a candle. If you light another's candle, your own does not go out. Instead, the room grows brighter. Kindness works the same way. A soft smile, a gentle word, a helping hand. These are sparks of joy. In one study, people asked to perform 5 small acts of kindness per week showed significant increases in happiness. But you do not need numbers. You have felt it yourself. When you help, when you give, when you smile, something inside you grows lighter. And remember, kindness to yourself is also kindness. Speak to yourself as gently as you would to a child. 4. The practice of letting go. Laying down the stones. Imagine walking with stones in your backpack. Every resentment, every regret, every old wound is a stone. At first, the load seems bearable, but over time, it breaks your back. Letting go is placing the stones down, one by one. It does not mean forgetting. It does not mean saying the wound never happened. It means you choose not to carry it forever. Forgiveness is one path. Acceptance is another. Breathing out, releasing, is yet another. Every stone laid down makes you lighter. And in lightness, happiness finds space to enter. The Buddha said, "Holding on to anger is like grasping hot coal with the intent of throwing it at another. You are the one who gets burned." 5. The practice of connection. The forest of joy. Happiness rarely grows in isolation. We are social beings, woven like roots of trees in a forest. Studies show that deep relationships are the single strongest predictor of lifelong happiness. Connection does not always mean many friends. It can mean one person who listens, one hand that holds yours. Practice reaching out. Call someone, send a kind message, sit with another in silence. As the African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. 6. The practice of wonder. The eyes of a child. Children laugh more than 300 times a day. Adults, barely 15. Why? Because children live in wonder. They are amazed by ants, by puddles, by stars. They have not yet been blinded by ordinary. To practice happiness, try to see with the eyes of a child again. Look at the sky not as just the sky, but as a painting. Look at a flower not as just a plant, but as a living miracle. Wonder breaks the walls of habit, and in wonder, joy returns. 7. The practice of meaning. Finding your why. Pleasure fades, possessions break, but meaning stays. Psychologist Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." Meaning is found in service, in creation, in love. Ask yourself, what small act today made me feel alive? What cause pulls me forward? It need not be grand. Even watering a plant, writing a line, caring for a neighbor can be a thread of meaning. Happiness is not only to feel good, it is to feel that life is worth living. 8. The practice of rest. The forgotten happiness in a culture of speed. But happiness is a flower that does not bloom in exhaustion. Rest is not laziness. Rest is the soil of joy. Take time to pause. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly. Walk without rushing. Like fields must lie fallow to grow again, so we must rest to renew our joy. Even silence, even stillness, is a practice of happiness. 9. The practice of joy itself. Allowing the smile. Sometimes we forbid ourselves joy. We say, "I'll be happy when," but joy does not live in conditions. It is already here, waiting to be noticed. Allow yourself to smile for no reason, to laugh at life's absurdities, to dance even if no one sees. This is not foolishness, this is wisdom. For in the end, happiness is not something to achieve, but something to allow. 10. The practice of silence. Listening to happiness. Noise surrounds us, but silence is where happiness speaks. Sit in quiet. Listen not to words, but to the space between them. Happiness is often a whisper, mist in the rush of sound. And so these are not commandments, they are doors. Each day you may open one. Gratitude, presence, kindness, letting go. Connection, wonder, meaning, rest, joy, silence. Each one is a path. Each one is a small step toward happiness. You do not need them all. Even one practice held with care can change the way you walk through life. Happiness is not sudden. It comes gently, like dawn spreading over the horizon, one ray at a time, until the sky is full of light. Part 7. Closing meditation on happiness. The night is quiet. The world outside is resting. And you too are ready to rest. You have walked a long path tonight, through science, philosophy, stories, poetry, and practice. You have heard many voices, but now all voices fade into silence. It is time not to think, but to simply be. Gentle breath, entering the night. Close your eyes if you have not already. Feel the soft rhythm of your breath. Do not try to change it, just notice. Inhale and exhale, like the tide of the sea rising and falling, like leaves moving with the breeze, like the wings of a bird at rest. With each inhale, imagine drawing in calm. With each exhale, imagine releasing weight. Breathe in peace. Breathe out tension. Breathe in light. Breathe out worry. Relaxation of the body. Letting go of stones. Now slowly bring your attention to your body. Notice your feet. They have carried you through the day. Thank them and let them relax. Notice your legs. Strong, steady, yet ready to rest. Let them soften. Notice your hands. They have worked, held, written, touched. Thank them and let them loosen. Notice your shoulders, how much they have carried. Let them fall as if placing down a heavy bag. Notice your face. Let your eyes sink. Let your jaw unclench. Let your forehead smooth, like calm water. Now your whole body is resting, like a field after harvest, quiet, still, at peace. A garden of happiness, seeds of joy. Now imagine within you a garden. The night sky above is full of stars. The moonlight falls softly on the earth. In this garden, small seeds of happiness are planted. Gratitude, kindness, wonder, meaning, joy. You planted them tonight by listening, by imagining, by opening your heart. They do not need force to grow. They only need rest. Even in sleep they will rise. Even in dreams they will bloom. Trust the garden. It knows what to do. Happiness will grow, gently, quietly, like flowers unfolding at dawn. The river of calm, flowing away. Now picture a river nearby. It moves slowly, quietly, silver in the moonlight. This river carries away everything heavy, every regret, every worry, every thought too sharp to keep. One by one, place them into the water. Watch them float away. A regret from yesterday, gone. A fear about tomorrow, gone. A thought you carried too long, gone. The river takes them gently, not with violence, but like a mother taking away a child's broken toy, so the child may rest, and you remain lighter, freer. The forest of night, held by the world. Now imagine you are lying in a quiet forest. The trees stand tall around you, their branches swaying gently in the night air. Above, the stars look down like old friends. Around, the earth is steady, holding you. You are safe here. The forest is watching over you. A gentle wind whispers through the leaves. It says, "You are not alone, you are held." Let yourself rest in this forest, where every root and leaf sings a lullaby of peace. The light within, the lantern of the heart. Now bring your attention inward. In your chest, imagine a small light glowing. It is soft, warm, steady. This is your happiness. It has always been there, sometimes hidden, sometimes dim, but never gone. With every breath, the light grows warmer. It spreads through your chest, through your arms, through your legs, through your whole body, until you are glowing like a lantern in the night. This is the light of peace, the light of joy, the light of being alive, drifting into rest, becoming the sky. Now imagine you are no longer a body. You are the sky itself, vast, endless, open. Clouds of thought may pass, but they are small. The sky is always larger. Stars sparkle within you. The moon glows gently. You are not separate from them. You are the night, calm and infinite. Let yourself drift into this sky. No boundaries, no worries, only peace. And so the journey ends here. You have listened, you have imagined, you have let go. Now it is time to rest. Sleep will come naturally, like a tide, like a gentle friend. Remember, you do not need to chase happiness. It is already within you. It is the garden, the river, the forest, the light, the sky. You are happiness. You are peace. You are whole. Good night. Rest deeply. And may happiness greet you in your dreams and shine again with the morning sun.